everyone, this is Susan. Today I have the wonderful opportunity to speak with Dr. Bess Dawson-Hughes. She's one of the major researchers looking at calcium, looking at vitamin D, looking at nutrients and how they affect bone health. And Bess, I have a terrific respect for your work. For years I've been looking at your studies, and now finally I get to meet her at a wonderful conference in Montreal. One of the interesting things Bess is working on now is this whole question of chronic low-grade metabolic acidosis. Now, you'll all recall we've been talking a lot about how just a slight acid load, caused by an imbalanced diet perhaps, can really damage bone. Bess is researching that now, and she has some great tips about how you can change your diet to actually protect yourself from an excessive acid load. So what did you find, Bess, when you looked at your population? Is a high acid load common in the United States?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we, with aging, and that is after around age 50 or so, there's a gradual rise in the acid, and the pH, decline in pH, a rise in the amount of acid in our systems. That results from two things, as we understand it. First, our kidney function declines with aging. And with that decline comes decreasing ability to excrete the hydrogen ions or excrete the acid load. That would not be such a problem unless we aggravated the situation
I see.
with a diet that keeps adding acid to our system.
So we have an aging factor, and we make it worse with our diet.
Correct.
Okay.
It turns out that about 2/3 of the people in the general population are adding more acid than alkali, than base, through their diets. Now, the things about the diet, it turns out, that add acid are protein and cereal grains, because they contain sulfur, which, when these foods are metabolized, turns to sulfuric acid, which is very strong acid.
We actually produce like a little acid rain within our bodies.
That's a good way to think about it, yeah.
Okay.
Now, to counterbalance that acid, we would need to eat plenty of fruits and vegetables, because the fruit acids and the acids in those, we all know that orange juice contains citric acid. Well, that, once metabolized, becomes alkaline. This is kind of confusing. But fruits and vegetables are our sole and major sources of base that offsets the acid.
Of alkalizing compounds.
Right.
And even though a food may taste acidic, like lemons or limes, they actually are converted by the body into alkalizing factors.
That's right. They're converted to bicarbonate, which is alkali, and that offsets that sulfuric acid from the fruits, from the grains and proteins.
And actually, in your study, you used potassium bicarbonate to neutralize people and to see the effects on bone. But what was really fascinating is Dr. Dawson-Hughes also found that the food can make a big difference. And let's hear your guidelines on that for us.
Okay, so 1/3 of the people in our study were already in the optimum range, which is around neutral for acid-base balance. Their diets had the characteristic of having 1.5 times as many servings of fruits and vegetables as servings of grains. Specifically, that particular population was consuming over 8 servings of fruits and vegetables per day, and 5 and a fraction servings of grain. Now, the group that had the highest acid load in our 200 and some subjects had the reverse ratio. They had many more servings of grain than fruits and vegetables. And so their ratio of fruit and vegetable to grain was 0.7. So we had a ratio of 1.5 in the neutral group and a ratio of 0.7 in the acid-loaded group. Interestingly, in both of those segments of our population, the dietary protein intake, which is, of course, a source of acid, was constant. the dairy servings per day was constant in those, same in those groups.
So you didn't have to adjust by protein or dairy. You could simply look at the vegetable intake, fruit and vegetables, and the grains.
Right. So I think in order to protect bone, now that maintaining a 9 to 6 or a 6 to 4, anything that's time and a half, 1.5 times as many fruits and vegetables as grains is a reasonable goal. If you couldn't reach that goal with your diet, then another option, as we studied, was to use potassium bicarbonate or potassium citrate in supplement form.
Alkalizing.
Yeah.
And the importance to bone we don't want to overlook, because when you're too acid, several things happen to bone, right, that are not really desirable.
Yes, our study and those studies of others have shown that when you add alkali in the form of these potassium bicarbonate or citrate pills every day for a number of months, you will see that the biochemical measures in the circulation or in the urine that indicate breakdown of bone, those are suppressed.
So there's less bone breakdown?
There's less bone breakdown and less bone loss, at least demonstrated in one study, although there is mixed evidence because of very few long-term studies.
Less loss of calcium in the urine.
And there's less loss of calcium in the urine.
The body conserves calcium better. We build better bone. It's going to be very likely.
Over 99% of our calcium in our body is in bone. So if you can decrease calcium losses, you are by definition decreasing bone loss. Yeah.
The research is fascinating, and we want to thank you for this effort to do it. And everyone, we want to pay attention to these guidelines of having more fruits and vegetables. It makes such good sense. We know it helps prevent cancer, diabetes, heart disease, all our common chronic diseases. And now we know with bone health. Build a strong alkaline diet. Eat those fruits and vegetables. Maybe cut down on grains a little. Mm-hmm. Have adequate protein, but not excess, and
that's right.
Off to a great start.
And you may even manage better weight control by cutting down some of those grains.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Good.
Have a good day.
We're done.
Yes, we're done. Thank you. We managed. We got this.
I hope